You're listening to Rolling Toe with trucking experts Kevin and Mike Beckett. This is the show where you ask the questions and we give you the diagnosis on how to get the most out of your truck. We'll talk about avoiding wear and tear, knowing your suspension and axles, and how to get more mileage from your tires. We're on the audio road. Let's get rolling.
Good evening. This is Mike.
And this is Kevin
Beckett, and we're here to talk about tire wear and handling issues on the Rolling Toe Show. We've had some pretty good response. I'm getting some feedback from people that are actually listening to this, so I guess we're not all alone out here.
No, we're not. Actually, the last couple of weeks, it's been a really good audience.
Yes, on the line, but we're also getting people who apparently are listening to these podcasts off of either iTunes or off of Blog Talk Radio, which is a great follow-up to it. That's what this is all intended to do, record some basic material that people can go back and listen to. And tonight, our basic material is going to be on Caster and Camber. That was part 5 of a series of posts I put on social media, and I'll read that now, and then we'll discuss it some, and then we'll go to questions. And by the way, for those of you that are listening right now, if you have a question, you push 1 on your keyboard, and that will cue you up so we know you have a question or a comment. If you push it twice, it will take you off. Somebody just pushed. There you are. You're back, okay? You don't want to push it twice because you disappear. 1 time and you're on, 2 times and you're gone. We'll be repeating that instruction as we go along. Now, Caster and Camber, or a combination of the two, seem to be some of the most popular settings for some alignment technicians. To be clear, camber is the inward or outward tilt of the tires relative to vertical. Caster is the forward or rearward tilt of the kingpin relative to vertical. Camber is built into the axle, and caster is accomplished by elevating the front mounts for the leaf springs or lowering the rear shackles, which tilts the axle. And you can do that in combination with tapered wedges that fit between the leaf spring and the axle. Since the axle is built with little or no difference in caster from one side to the other, no more than 0.5 degrees, and is intended to remain that way. Got to learn how to read here. Use of wedges, huh?
You wrote it.
I know I wrote it, but I can't read it. Use of wedges on one side or the other is not a recommended practice. Many alignment techs use caster or camber to try and control the tendency of the vehicle to pull in one direction or the other. In fact, all manufacturers of axles used in North America that I'm aware of expressly prohibit bending their axle beams hot or cold to change camber or for any other purpose. This quote is from the Dana Service Manual, and similar statements can be found in all axle manufacturers' manuals. This is one of the reasons that I do not spend time on these settings. The other reason is that the steer axle is not the dominant axle underneath the truck. Now consider this. In the U.S., a standard highway tractor will have 1 steer axle and 2 drive axles. Yeah, we're moving more and more to the 6x2s, I understand that, but typically we're looking at 2 drive axles and 1 steer. The steer axle will carry a normal load of 12,000 pounds and have no horsepower in it. The drive axles will carry almost 3 times as much weight as the steer, 34,000 pounds, and have all the horsepower. That means the use of caster and camber to control the direction of the vehicle require the lightest axle with the least amount of horsepower, 0, to counter the heavy and more powerful axles. This obvious result is premature and irregular tire wear for the steer tires. I find it much more effective to use the alignment of the drive axles to control direction and thereby extend steer tire life. In the next installment, we will discuss my view on drive axle alignments and their effects, so we'll get more detail on it next time. As a final point on camber, when the TMC task force was investigating alignment issues, they followed up on 1,000 camber complaints, and on initial inspection found none of them, that's nada, 0, zilch, were actually camber tire wear problems. My experience in the field has had similar experience. The difficulty is that many techs do not know how to identify the tire pattern. They just go by specs and try to make them right and hope the tire will perform. Okay, that's the end of the reading. You've been doing alignments for, what, 6 months now?
A little more than 6
A little
months.
more than 6 months. How many times have you run into a camber problem?
Once.
Once.
Yeah.
And
It was that Hendrickson hollow tube axle.
yeah, which is a little light, and it can get bent if you hit it hard.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for a lot of years, and I have run into camber problems. But when I was doing 1,200 alignments a year, I would find a camber problem once or twice a year. And generally, when I found the camber problem, it was because somebody had done something wrong to the axle in the first place. For example, there was a Mack truck at the Joliet Mack dealership that came in while I was training him, and the left front tire leaned in so far that you could stand in front of the truck and see the lean, okay? And when we went underneath the truck and looked at it, you could see the torch marks on the axle where somebody heated up the axle to get the kingpin out. Well, they took all the temper out of the axle, and now you got a soft piece of steel and it just sagged on itself. Oops. So somebody ruined it.
Yeah.
So you can't really blame the axle for that kind of stuff.
Because actually the axle is sort of a spring.
It is a spring. The way it's made, you pour hot steel into a mold, you form the steel, then you drill it and you mill it. And when everything's the way you want it, then they temper the top 1 inch of the I-beam to make it hard steel like a head. The bottom of the axle is a soft steel, which gives it its mass and weight carrying capability. But that top 1 inch is like a blade for a leaf spring. And when you hit bumps in the road, it flexes, but it comes right back to its original point again. Okay. People say, well, they get old and they fatigue and they start collapsing. I have never seen that.
Not even in 20 to 30-year-old axles.
No, I haven't seen them 30-year-old axles. I've seen axles that have been bent and rebent to the point where you look underneath the bumper and look at them, and they don't come straight across anymore. They kind of wiggle like somebody's been bent in a coat hanger or bent in a paper clip.
They put it in so many crevices.
Yeah, put 100-ton rams on it and messed it up. But in either case, camber tire wear would be wear on one side of the tire and not the other, because the tire's leaning out or leaning in. Right. Okay? And the higher pressured side of the tire will wear faster than the lower pressured side. But toe in or drive axle alignment will also cause one side of a tire to wear.
But there is a telltale mark.
Yeah, when you slide a tire sideways because the toe's wrong or the rear's out of alignment, the tire gets a sawtooth or feather edge across it. Right. If it is purely camber, there's no feather edge.
No, because it's rolling straight.
Yeah.
It's just that there's too much weight on
one side or the other. Yeah, and then you have camber work. Now, when I go out and look at tires, and I look at tires all year long, thousands of tires, I can't remember the last time I saw a legitimate camber tire work.
And is it possible that that's because of the difference between radial and bias ply tires?
Yes, definitely. Bias ply tires with the rigid multiple ply sidewalls, which didn't bulge, most of you won't even remember it anymore, were very sensitive to camber. But radial tires with a single ply sidewall that does bulge and flex is much more tolerant of camber changes.
And when you say bulge, you mean that bulge at the bottom where the footprint of the tire, it actually bulges out.
It bulges out, yeah.
The reason it bulges out is because it's actually thinner than the tread.
Yes, much thinner.
Okay, and that bulge implies basically that if there were a difference in camber from one side to the other, it would simply be consumed.
Yeah, and the camber ranges that we get today are such that camber's not our big problem. Okay? I've had some guys come to me and say, well, they had somebody adjust the camber and it took care of the problem. And I said, okay, fine. Did they adjust anything else? Well, yeah, this is the drive axle and the toe was wrong too. So how do you know what really fixed it?
Good question.
Okay? I'm not saying that if somebody could successfully change camber, it wouldn't help. I'm saying that I don't see the need to adjust camber, so I don't.
And guess what? We do just fine.
Yeah, I get satisfactory results, you know. All right. Very good. Well, we have a bunch of comments and questions up on the board, so we're going to go to the first one. And where's their area code this time?
This one's 530.
Okay, we're doing a guessing game to see where these area codes are. So 530. My guess is going to be Upper Manitoba, Canada.
I used to know.
Yeah?
I forgot that. I don't.
Well, you're not as old as I am. I forgot a lot more.
We'll find out.
Okay.
All right,
Can you hear us? Hello. Boy, you're talking through a coffee can. Can you hear me? No, that's me reverberating
I
back.
think we're here.
I'm not hearing anything. Hello? Hello? Are you coming?
I don't think it's coming. We'll get back to him.
We'll try you again a little later. All right. Well, that didn't work. Maybe he was an upper Manitoba cat, and he didn't have the string tight enough.
Maybe.
Okay, you better make a mark on that one.
I'd like to. Oh, there.
Okay. We're learning this computer stuff, guys.
Give us a second.
He used whiteout on the screen to erase that word. Okay. All right, what do we got now?
Okay, this one's the 979 area.
979. I'm going to guess Arizona.
Arizona.
Are you in Arizona?
No, you got this wrong last week, too. Lone Star
Okay.
State.
Lone Star State. All right. What can we do for you?
Well, how are the two straightest men in trucking doing today?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I didn't hear that.
Never mind. How y'all doing today?
We're doing pretty good.
Okay, I got a couple of questions. I've got to sit down with my dealer and order my glider on Monday. Now, last week you talked me out of my front suspension. You talked me out of my rear suspension. So I do have a couple of questions as I'm going over this list, so I've got everything lined up for him. I was talking to him, and he said that they have what they call a high-performance axle, rear axle housings that are out now, and they're supposed to be stiffer than standard axle.
The standard axle housing, which has been in use since the late 90s, is a 9.5 millimeter thick housing. The standard axle housing that was before that was 11 millimeter thick. The 11 millimeter thick is still available. Now, if they've rebranded it and said, okay, it's a high-performance axle now with 11 millimeter, that's fine if that's what we want to call it. But the 11 millimeter thick is the one we get the best tire wear off of.
Okay, that was my question, whether it was worth the extra couple $100 or not. So,
are they charging extra for the 11 millimeter?
I asked him. I said, "Well, what's the price difference?" He said, "I think it's a couple $100." He says, "It's not much to worry about." I said, "Well, okay, we'll discuss it."
Okay.
The other thing. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's fine. But if it is 11 millimeter and they're charging extra, that's data that I would like to know. So if you could mention me on Facebook or something and let me know what you find out on that, I appreciate it.
Oh, you bet. Not a problem. The other question is I'm doing the truck with disc brakes, and I'm doing my trailer with disc brakes. Mm-hmm. And that's, surely from a safety stopping standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Has that created any problems with wheel bearings, with XYZ, anything else on the trucks? Do you have any customers that use them, and are they working for them?
It has caused us some things we've had to get used to that we didn't have to deal with drum brakes. It has caused me some isolated cases of additional tire wear, and it does make it a little more difficult for me to check if the wheel bearings are loose. So let me go over those one at a time. Because the calipers fit so close against the disc, it's hard to wiggle the wheel in and out to make sure the bearing's tight because the brake calipers are stopping you from moving it. So if we get serious about it, we have to go internal on the bearing in order to check it instead of just being able to check it external. The second thing that I've seen for tire wear was on a front axle on a truck with disc brakes who did a panic stop, and he out-of-rounded his tires.
Now,
well, if I can get on the front that hard, I'll go ahead and deal with some square tires and not run over the family of 7 in the minivan. So I'm good with that.
That was exactly his comment. What happened was he came to me and I said, I got this funny tire wear, and he showed me a picture and he described it to me. And I'm thinking about what it's doing and looking at the tire wear pattern. And he says, I've got about 40,000 miles on these tires and they're doing this. And I said, did you do a panic stop? And his wife looked at him and said, yes, you did. You remember that kid with the ball ran out in front of you? He says, yep. And it didn't hit the kid. I'll pay for the tires.
That's my opinion on it.
Right. Go ahead, Kev.
There is another. It isn't the faster tire wear that occurs on both the front and the back. you'll see a more rapid rate of tire wear if you use the brakes, to their performance rather than expecting the same thing as you would from
Drums.
If you can accept the same stopping distance as a drum and just do an easy stop, you won't see the increase in tire wear. But it's
this isn't a race car. I'm looking for that oh crap moment. That's
right.
The only reason I'm buying them is for the oh crap moment. So.
And I agree. They're a better brake. They don't heat fade. They're better on long hills, down slope, because they don't heat fade like drums. They have a lot better advantages. We agree with all that.
Yep. We only got one mountain in Texas, so I'm not too worried about the long downgrade deal. But we got a lot of people that love pulling out in front of a 75-mile-an-hour oil truck and do 20. So that's what I'm looking for.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. The other question I had, since you knocked me down on my air ride front end I wanted, what is the major differences between, say, a 12,000-pound axle and what's the next one up, 13.2 or 13.5 or something?
13.2.
Okay, 13.2.
There's really nothing different in the axle. It just has more beef. It can carry a heavier load without flexing. And the way the front ends of trucks are getting heavier all the time, I personally think everybody should go with the 13.2 axle and with load range H steer tires, because when you're driving down the road and you step on the brake, how much weight's on your steer axle?
Damn near everything.
Exactly. And running an axle that is a 12,000-pound axle, and you're running 12.2 on it, driving straight and normal, and when you step on the brake, you're overloading the axle, you're overloading the tires, you're overloading the suspension. I would rather see some room there that you're not right up against the limit all the time.
Okay, now does that increase the spring thickness or stiffness on the springs, or is that primarily just the axle assembly itself?
There's a little bit more in the springs, there's a little bit more in all the components, there's a little bit more in the tires, but the guys that I've talked to, if we align the truck right, they can't tell the difference in the ride between a 12,000 and a 13.2.
Okay, well, I'm going to hang a bull bar on the front of this because we have hog problem down here in Texas like you wouldn't believe, and I'm tired of having to go underneath and fix air lines and drag body parts out from the axles, so I'm putting a bull bar on this one. So I will have okay. Last question comes down to, actually I have two more if you got time, but this is when the theme of the show here on the Caster and the Camber. When you so eloquently shot me down on my air ride front suspension idea and called it a Greyhound bus, you said that some of the rough ride can be taken out with Caster. And I thought you said something about 5 degrees is normal, and if you take it down to 2 or something like that. Can you explain what that does and what effect it has on the ride quality?
Sure.
It's our topic for the day. So.
Yeah, we might as well.
Well, I had to beat around the bush and get back to the starting point here.
There you go. Zero caster would mean the kingpins would be pointed perfectly vertical compared to a fore and after tilt. In other words, they'd be straight up and down. As you add caster, the bottom of the kingpin goes forward, the top of the kingpin leans back, like the front fork on a motorcycle. Now, that is the attack angle that the kingpin addresses the bumps in the road. Now, if you've got 5 degrees of caster and the bottom of the kingpin is leaning forward, it's like taking your finger and having the finger aimed forward and sliding it across the table, and your finger wants to chatter across every seam and crap. But if your finger is perfectly vertical as you go across the floor, it just kind of bumps past them and you don't feel it. So the more caster you have, the sharper all the expansion seams, because they're not bumping up against the leaf spring, they're jamming back against the leaf spring.
So the sharper the angle, the more it transmits into the truck.
Exactly.
And your hands.
Now we have found with a power steered truck with a standard wheelbase of like 200 inches, a couple of drive axles back there, 2 degrees of caster handles just fine. And it's much smoother riding, and actually the tires last longer.
Does that hold true if the wheelbase is longer, like 270?
Yeah, 270 is fine. The longer the wheelbase. Where we ran into a problem was years ago. We used short wheelbases cab over trucks with no sleepers on them. They're about as long as your pickup truck. And with a single drive, we had to have 5 or 6 degrees of caster to make that piece of shit drive straight.
Yeah. Even then, I tell you, I drove one around a parking lot one time, and I felt that if I hit the brakes too hard, the thing was going to spin around or fall on its face. I don't know how they drove those things. I really don't.
Well, it takes a man with a lot of hair in his chest. There's no doubt about it.
Well, not me. I'm sorry. I'll go ahead and stick with my long nose. I like that axle way out there in front of me.
Right.
Hey, one tire question for you.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, that explains it. I thinking it might have been along those lines, but I wanted to get it from the experts there. I did have a tire question on speed rating. Is there speed rating on truck tires?
All of them are speed rated. Yep. Most of them are marked on the side of the tire. They're definitely in the engineering manual.
Okay.
And what's the highest speed right there?
Yeah. The highest speed rating in North America right now is 81, but most of them are 75 as far as highway tractor tires. But when you get into some of the other tire sizes like 385s, 4 1/4s, you can find tires that are rated speed rated for as low as 56 miles an hour. And there's some large, oversized tires that we see that are on like cranes and stuff. I've seen some of them at 35-mile-an-hour speed rating.
And they're taking those things on the highway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but they're still doing 65, 70 miles an hour out here. Trust me. Those,
we know they are.
The guys that are out here in the oil field, none of that stuff. I don't think they think any of that applies to them because they drive like bat out of hell. So what's the speed rating on the 81? Does it have a letter, or is it just stamped on there 81 miles an hour?
No, what there is there's a letter on the side of the tire. There's a 2-number group with a slash between them and then a letter. If it's marked on the side, the letter is the speed rating. Like if you've heard of Z-rated passenger car tires that are for 150 miles an hour. Well, that same letter code system works on truck tires. And there'll be a letter someplace, or you can look in the engineering manual or the spec sheet for the tires, and it'll show you what the speed ratings are.
Yep.
Not a problem. I didn't know if they use the same thing as cars do. I just don't. I never bought a set of car tires that were that low, but I'll take a look on Michelin site.
It's all the same. Okay?
Good deal. Hey, guys, I appreciate all the information. You probably saved me years and years of headaches on ordering this glider, so I thank both of you.
Good. You're more than welcome. We wish you a lot of luck.
All right. Thank you, sir. Bye.
Okay. We covered a lot of different stuff on that call.
Yeah, fun stuff.
All right. Now, what do we got next?
We got a 909 area code.
909. Okay, my bet is Jamaica. Jamaica. Hey, Mon, are you there?
Yeah, hopefully that's me that's up there. It's California, but I'm in Montana. I have two questions. I have two questions for you. One's for my son there. A while back on Kevin's show, you talked about different tire height between drive axles, because last November his shop wore new ones across the back because his front drives were still way too good to pull off. And now the front drive axles are down to 5/32, so he's going to swap them out, move the back axle to the front, and then put another 4 new ones across the back. Now, the only thing is, now he's saying he's been noticing a bit of vibration when he's letting off on the throttle going down the hill, and he's worried that he might have damaged something. I told him to check his drive line first, but I didn't agree with what his shop told him to do. But I remember on Kevin's show you said something about there's a certain amount of height that you can allow without doing any kind of rear end damage.
Yes.
Can you
now,
tell
if you
me
read
what
the
that was?
if you read the Meritor manuals or the Dana manuals or the Mac manuals, they all read the same.
Yeah.
The circumference of the tires on the 2 drive axles should match within a 1/4 inch difference in height. Okay.
He definitely would have been more than that. That's what I thought I heard you say.
From experience.
I think, yeah, go ahead.
From experience, we found we can actually go to a 1/2 inch and we still are okay. All right, but the engineers say a quarter inch. Now, if you have tires that have 5 30-seconds of tread depth on one axle, and you have tires on the other axle that have 30 seconds of tread depth, that means you've got 25 30-seconds of tread depth difference. That's 3/4 of an inch.
Yeah, that's way too much. Right.
Way beyond. I've seen guys blow their power divider out, and it's the top gear where the front drive shaft comes in and that spider gear that's getting overworked, taking up the difference in the rotation rate between the two axles. Now, at a TMC meeting, we brought that up at a tech talk, and what the axle manufacturers recommended, if you have this severe difference in heights, is put the 4 tall tires on the right side of the truck and the 4 short tires on the left side. Then the difference in rotation rate is taken up by the spider gears on the side of the diff, which are immersed in oil, and they can cool and adequately handle this load.
Really? Wow, I would have thought that would have done damage. Wow. Yeah, I warned them back in November. I said, I don't think that's a good idea, but that's what it was recommended to them. But,
and that will give you vibrations. And yes.
Yeah. I have another question. My other 579, it came with Michelin Energy D multi-line tires, and after a period of time, I started getting inside heel-to-toe wear on the tires. I sent in the photo to the show, and Kevin agreed he thought it possibly be bearing wear. And I did a tire rotation, an X rotation, and it did correct. Over time, it slowly corrected it. And then they put me into another 579. Now I got about 120,000 kilometers, and on the inside, I'm just starting to feel that same feathered wear on the inside. So I'm wondering, because we haul a lot of light load, do you think it has anything to do with high torque that's causing the tires to do that?
Okay. If you're getting wear on the inside of your drive tires close to the frame,
yes,
that has nothing to do with engine torque, has nothing to do with inflation, has everything to do with either a loose wheel bearing or the axle is flexing under load and causing more wear on the inside edge. Earlier, we had a caller that was asking what thickness of housing you should be running. And we're more and more encouraging people to go with the 11-millimeter housings because they don't flex as much. And the new energy tires we have are very sensitive to the flex that occurs in these lightweight axles.
Right. When they came out with this 9.5 millimeter axle back in the 90s, they started coming out with it more, putting it on more trucks. We didn't notice these tire wear issues. Not until they started coming out with the low rolling resistance tires were we seeing these issues where they were just creeping up in places where problems were solved.
Well, I just find a coincidence that the identical truck, and we're starting to see the same thing happen again. I'm catching it early enough that I this time I'll make sure I do a rotation to correct the tire wear. Because you couldn't feel any vibration in the truck unless I was back in the sleeper
eventually,
while my wife was driving.
When it cups enough, the vibration will tend to cycle in and out. You'll be driving at a sustained speed. It'll shake and stop and shake and stop and shake and stop. That's a loose wheel bearing.
Right.
If it doesn't, then it's axle flex. Now, what make and model of truck are we talking about here?
Peterbilt 579. It would be a consistent vibration.
Now, if it's a consistent vibration, then it's something else. But Peterbilt's come with a preset non-adjustable bearing. So we've got a 95% chance the bearing is tight enough. The odds are you've got a 9.5 millimeter housing in 711.
Okay. Okay. All right. I just didn't know if it was the tire design or if it's an axle or a truck problem that's causing it.
It's a compatibility problem between the new low rolling tire and the lightweight axle.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. All right. Well, that answers my question. I appreciate your show there, guys. Love hearing it.
Always glad to help you. Have yourself a great day.
All right. You too. Thanks.
Okay. More good stuff. And he was out of where? California?
California.
California. Okay.
So 909 is California. We'll remember the night.
Sure, I'll remember that for 5 months. Hello there. Can everybody hear me? I hope you can. We got cut off for some reason. We just dialed back in, so we're back on the air. We didn't lose anybody. We're going to keep going here. We just finished talking to a guy from, I think it was Jamaica, eh? No, California. California, okay, all right. And we're going to try somebody from where now?
The 314 area.
314, that sounds familiar.
I'm going to go with New York.
Okay, New York. This is Mike. Can I help you?
Hello, guys.
There, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
We're fine. Our first question is, where is 314 area code?
314, that's out of St. Louis, Missouri area. I called you guys last week. I have a 2012 Pro Star, and I'm still dealing with that vibration. I called that night after I talked to you guys, and TA shop up in the Bloomington, Illinois area, and I asked them if they can tighten up the wheel bearings, and the mechanic said that if the wheel bearing is loose, the wheel bearing is either good or bad, that they can't tighten it. So that really, I ended up not taking the truck to them because that I've already had too many problems with taking it to TA, and they tell me that it's one thing when something doesn't have to even be done to the truck. So that really didn't make a lot of sense to me. So is that something that it can be done, or do I have to look into have the wheel bearings replaced, or because the vibration?
What model of truck you got?
It's a International Pro Star.
International Pro Star. The odds are it doesn't have the preset non-adjustable bearings, so I completely disagree with their opinion. It could have a preset in it, but I'll be surprised. Okay.
Okay.
Adjust bearings all the time, and bearings are not just good and bad. Bearings are good, loose, or bad. It's all three categories.
That's what I thought.
Now, does this vibration that you're fighting, does it tend to come when you're at a sustained speed, not accelerating, not decelerating? Is that right?
No, it's a sustained, like, for example, right now, I'm right at 65 miles an hour, and it's there. I can feel it, and sometimes it gets really, really intense, and then it goes away, and you can still feel it there, but it only happens between 62 and 70 miles an hour. That's when I feel it, and when the trailer is not loaded heavy. I got 20,000 pounds in the box right now, so I mean that's as heavy as I haul.
Okay, well, are you seeing any irregular wear on your drive tires?
No, not at all. I mean, everything's fine there. So I was wondering maybe if there's a tire out around or.
And how many miles do your drive tires have on them?
They were new on the truck when I got it. It's on about 40,000 miles.
Okay. There's several things it could be, but the first thing I would want to check is wheel bearings. Okay?
Okay.
And because somebody doesn't know how to adjust the bearing and says they're either good or bad doesn't convince me anything. All right?
Yeah.
Now, if you look on our website, there is a shop location tab at MDAlignment.com. And you can call some of those shops that we work with and see if somebody's willing to help. We've got them all over the country.
Well, that's exactly what I was fixing to do. I'm going to be in the Capel, Texas area, and I know that there is a MD alignment shop out in the Fort Worth, Texas. So maybe if that's alignment that needs to be done, well, and they can check everything else, whatever else needs to be done.
Probably the oil medics, isn't it?
The what now?
So. Medics at Fort Worth, I think, was the name of that shop.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I know I called the guy. I was going to get it done about 2 weeks ago, but I've been running, nonstop.
Okay,
and,
well, if it's the oil medics in Fort Worth, I got a lot of confidence on those guys, and if they have an issue, they'll call me and we'll talk about it, okay?
All right, well, thanks so much, guys.
You betcha, buddy. Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Thanks a lot.
Okay. All right. We got through that one.
Missouri.
What do we got?
They disappeared. Or maybe something else.
Yeah? What do you got? You got it at somebody else?
I guess so. Everything switched around all of a sudden.
That's okay.
951 area code.
951.
Okay.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. How are you tonight?
Doing pretty good. We're trying to find one is Quebec, Canada.
Actually, 951 is right next to the 909 in California.
Oh, it's out in California. Okay. One of these days, I'm going to guess one of these right.
So what's up?
I have a couple questions. I just replaced shocks on all 3 axles. Would that constitute needing to get this thing realigned with a shock replacement on, all 6 shocks?
No, absolutely not. There's nothing that you do with the shock that's going to change alignment.
Okay, so that will have absolutely no bearing on it.
Yep.
Very well. Also, do you know what the difference in height is between a 255 tire and a 275 tire?
Oh, wait a minute. Run that by me again. What's the difference in height between a 255 tire and a 275 tire?
Yes, on my trailer, like my tractor, I'm running 275s. I just bought this used trailer, and it has 255s on it, and I believe it's because it's a high cube trailer. And it's got,
okay.
It looks.
Okay. Here, I'm going to give you the formula, and you can figure it out. Okay.
Okay.
There on the 275 tire, there's a second number right after it. 275.80, 275.60, 275.50. Okay.
Okay.
That second number tells you what the height of the tire is as a percentage of the first number.
Okay.
275.50, that means it's half as tall as it is wide. Okay?
Okay.
You can take that formula and you can look at your 2 tires and figure out what the heights are and tell exactly where you are.
Okay, now my question is if I switch my 255s on the trailer out to 275s, obviously it's a taller tire.
So not necessarily. Necessarily be a taller tire.
The 255, really, that's not going to... Okay.
I don't know what the height is. You didn't give me the second number, so I can't tell you if it's obviously taller or not.
So a 255 and a 275 can be the same height? It's all the second number?
Until you figure the second number and divide the width out to see what your height is, I can't tell you what the height is.
Okay.
The 255.
All the 255 and the 275 is doing is tell me how wide the tire is, not how high it is.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, I was confused there. So I will have to do. Well, my other question is, let's just say there's a 3-inch difference in height. That I go to switch the other tires. Now that's only going to raise my trailer height by half that distance, right? Because half of the height difference is below the axle and half is above.
Right.
Okay, so it's only going to raise it by. Now, if I was to take my leveling valve on the trailer and readjust that height back down, is that what that leveling valve is for, or will that put not enough air in my airbag?
No. The only thing that it's going to do is, let's say you raised your front of your truck, okay? It's not going to mess with the trailer. It's going to mess with your driveline angle between your engine and your front differential.
Right. This is actually on my trailer.
Oh, you're changing your trailer height. You're not changing your steer tires. Okay, all right. I was confused on that. All right. I suppose because you need to keep the trailer the same height as the fifth wheel plate in order to keep the trailer running level, because that affects your ride.
Okay. So that leveling valve, I could adjust back the difference, whatever the height of my trailer changes with the other tires, then I can adjust.
Yeah, you can put it up. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, I thank you so much.
We got to talk about tire diameters. Isn't that fun? Okay. Did you make a note on him? You losing him?
You know what? It jumped as soon as
I know. You're losing track. You're not qualified here, are you?
Okay.
We won't find somebody who's qualified. What number we got now?
208.
208. Okay, I'm going to bet Louisiana. Hello there.
Are you in Louisiana?
Hi there.
208.
Hello.
Hello there. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good. Now where's 208?
Idaho.
Louisiana, Idaho.
That's close.
Geography's the same.
Yeah,
It's
about
only
2,500 miles.
No, it's only 2 inches on the map. What are you talking about?
Depending on the map.
What you got?
I am also working on specking out a glider.
Uh-huh.
And the gentleman before said something about you had talked him out of an air ride axle.
Yep. On the front.
Yeah. And I'm questioning why.
Okay, from an alignment man standpoint, if I want to hold the axles in position, I get my best handling, I get my best tire wear. If I put a soft axle in the front of it, a soft suspension, it starts riding like a yacht and kind of wandering around and kind of floating. Now, we have that a lot on buses, and buses really don't want their cargo to be upset by rough ride. But they don't handle wear tires real good, okay? So if the most important thing is to you is ride, and you're willing to handle a little bit of road wander, a little bit of sloppy stuff, and maybe not get the full mileage out of the tire that we can get on a solid axle, then buy the air ride.
Well, I think Peterbilt's system is, it looks to me like there's a front, of course, there's a solid axle or solid spring with shackles on both ends, and then there's two separate airbags mounted over between the axle and the frame rail.
That's right.
So I believe that it would be a solid system.
Well, that hasn't been my experience.
Okay. Because I mean, it looks to me like it would just buffer the spring. But
yeah, it's carrying some of the load on the airbag, because if you'd let all the air out of the airbag, that spring would reverse curve. Okay?
Right.
So you are carrying some load on the airbag, and air compresses a lot more than the spring does. That's the whole idea of putting them up there, so you get a softer ride. Well, that means that as you hit bumps left and right, it's going to kind of want to mush up a little bit more than you do with the solid spring down there. And then we start getting the thing handling like an RV.
Okay. Understand that. What about rear end gear ratios? And now you're talking about different thicknesses on rear end housings. I think I spec that thing with 22.5 tall rubber with 342s.
I don't know anything about a 342. I'm not a gear guy.
Okay.
I just.
Well, I hadn't had a chance to talk to Kevin yet, so.
Yeah, he'd be the guy to talk to about that. It's out of my field.
Okay.
All righty.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, I was going for what? Mississippi, and I got Idaho? Louisiana got Idaho. Well, all right. Well, we're getting close. Let's pick another one here and see what we can do.
All right, this is going to be the 308 area code.
308. I know that. That's Ohio. Hello?
Hey, well, you're wrong again. You missed it again.
What do we got?
308 is western Nebraska.
Nebraska? I was just out in Scotts Bluff.
That's 308.
Oh, my God. So what do we can do for you?
Oh, I've got some questions on steer tire wear.
Uh-huh.
The right side tire has got scallop around the center. The left side steer tire has got river wear around the inside.
Okay, the right side is wearing on the outside, and the left tire is wearing in the middle ribs. Is that correct?
The other way around. The right side tire is wearing with scallop, flat spots through the center of the tread.
What make and model of tire are you running?
It's a Gladiator, all-sufficient tire.
Oh, good tires. Okay, made out of China, I believe. All right.
Probably.
Next question. How much inflation are you running?
110.
And the sidewall of the tire says 110, right?
The sidewall has no recommended pressure. It's not stamped.
Well, it's somewhere on the side. It's got to say max load 6,000 some hundred pounds at 110 or 105 psi. All tires have to have that.
Unless you bought the tire in Mexico.
It's got maximum load, 7620, with no pressure in it. That part is blank. It was never stamped.
Okay, it's 120 if it's 7,000 pounds. Okay?
Okay.
And if you're running 110, you're 10 pounds underinflated to begin with. And my experience on tires nowadays with the low rolling resistance and everything, you need to be between 5 and 10 pounds overinflated. And then that center rib stuff won't happen.
Okay. And what about the river wear on the inside shoulder of the other tire?
Well, does the truck have a right pull?
No, it runs straight.
Runs straight. Is there any feathered wear on the tire? You know what feathered wear is?
What?
Feathered wear.
What? No.
Okay, so you slide your hand back and forth across the tire and there's no feathering at all?
None at all.
What?
It's just got this groove about a quarter of an inch deep and a half inch wide.
River.
Looks like a bolt or something drug across the tire, but there's nothing there to touch.
Okay. I think that's inflation too. We just need to get the air up, and that forces the tire to stay flat on the ground instead of buckling up in the middle, which causes that cupping work.
Okay. And in spite of running light loads, I mean, my axle runs about 11,000 pounds with a full load.
How much weight's on that front axle when you step on the brake?
I'm sure considerably more.
The worst possible time when the tire's working the most, it's underinflated, isn't it?
Okay.
So our experience on
because of the flexing.
Yeah. Our experience has been we need more air in the steer tires. The rears are fine. You want to put 100 back there, that's great, because the load inflation chart only calls for about 75 pounds in the rear tires, and we put 100 back there. So you overinflate them by 33%. But people are afraid to put a reasonable amount of air in the steer tire.
Okay.
Okay?
So I need to pump the front up a little bit.
Right. Find that mark on the sidewall that shows what it says it's supposed to have in and put an extra 5 or 10 pounds in there.
Now, how many miles have you gotten on these tires?
Not very many. Probably, I'm going to say 50, 60,000.
Yeah.
It's like
if you're
third set of tires in a year.
Yep.
I just can't keep tires on this thing. I've been to alignment shops one after another, and they say there's nothing wrong.
Well, I'm going to get very biased on this right now. I would rather see you go to a shop that's trained our way and have them check the truck out. Make sure the bearings are tight. Make sure the inflation's right. Make sure the alignment's right, and see what you got.
You know, it's okay to be biased. Show.
Well, that's true. It is our show. I can do this, can I? Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. You can go to our website. Go to mdalignment.com, and it's got a shop locator tab on there. Pick a state, click a shop, call them up. Make sure you feel comfortable with them and have it check it out. Right.
Okay.
You know,
MD Alignment, right?
Yeah, mdalignment.com. Right. Yep.
Okay. I'll do that.
All righty, buddy. You have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye. Okay, I missed again. I'm really getting terrible at picking the right states.
I don't think you're ever going to get one right.
Yeah,
unless
probably
it's
not.
515.
Yeah, 515. That's Idaho, right?
Ohio,
Idaho, someplace like that. All right. What do we got? We got another question. We got about 10 minutes left.
218 area code.
218. I'm not even going to guess because I've been wrong. You guess this time.
Colorado.
Are you there? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Oh, 218, please. We can't talk to 218. We'll have to try him another time. Okay, let's try somebody else. Did you mark that? No answer? Okay. All right, let's try another one. We're running out of time.
Okay, now it's okay. 806.
806. That's got to be New York.
New York. New York.
Texas.
New York.
Texas? My goodness, I can't guess. Texas. Okay.
New York City.
All right. It's a little bit far away. So, anyway, my question to you is I had to replace 2 of my front tires on my trailer. And it was kind of late in the day and stuff, and so I went ahead with 2 drive recaps. And after listening to you talk about height of tires, I thought, okay, my 2 back trailer tires were 2 Michelin new, trailer tires, but they were from about 5 months ago. So there's a difference in height between the front and the back on the trailer. Does that matter?
No. Trailers don't have any drive axle in them or gear in them, so tall tire and 1 axle on the trailer doesn't bother anything.
Glad to know that about on the on the truck itself to make sure I know that because I knew across you couldn't have it different, but I didn't realize front to back you couldn't have it that much different.
Yes,
so.
And front to back is worse than across.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. That's all I needed. Enjoy the show.
You have a great day. You betcha.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. What do we got? We got that one done. And now which one's this guy?
Well, this one was already done. So
already done him?
This one was 305.
305, Idaho. Hello there.
No, not close.
No.
And it's funny because that Nebraska call was 308, and one more all the way in Miami, Florida with 305.
And where are you at?
Yes, Miami, Florida.
Florida. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I got them spread out. Okay. What do we got?
I know, right? I called last week about getting an outside wear pattern on the right steer tire.
Mm-hmm.
And you told me about the feathering. If you run your hand across, it's coming low to the outside, and it's worn off that outside rim.
Right.
So then you suggested to make sure that the airbags are straight with the mileage and the make and model of the truck.
Right.
So they are straight, and I'm actually going to go in for alignment. And I want to know, as far as that tire is concerned, is that tire something I can flip around after the alignment, before the alignment, or should I replace it new?
Let's look at this way on a tire. Brand new, it's got 5 ribs on it, and the ribs on this tire are all the same height. They look the same height. If the tire wear pattern has gotten so bad that you can see one rib shorter than the other ribs, the tire's already ruined.
Okay.
And that will never go away. In fact, it will get worse even if you fix what started it. Okay?
Okay.
So if I would flip the tire on the rim or put it on the other side of the truck and get as many miles out of it as I can before I finally really have to take it off. I wouldn't throw away good money. But don't expect the tire to get any better if you can already see the pattern.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And my second question, I'm trying to get somebody else in here, is when I do the alignment, should they flip it in the same spot or flip it to the other side of the truck? And should they do it before or after the alignment?
Wait a minute. Run that by me again. You broke up.
I was saying when you flip the tire, should you flip it in the same position on that side, or should you just switch the side of the tire?
It doesn't matter when you flip it. You can do it before the alignment, after the alignment, as long as the alignment tech knows where it was when that pattern started.
Okay. And it doesn't matter if I flip it in the same spot or either run a rotation from one side to the other?
Nah, either way you want to do it, whatever's more convenient for you.
Okay. Thanks a lot. That's all I have.
Not a problem, buddy.
All right.
Okay. So we were in Florida.
Yes, that was Florida.
It was Texas the last call, Florida this call. Okay, we're going to try one more.
We
got 6 minutes. Let's see how many we can get through.
The 254 area.
254. I'm going to bet 254. Indiana. Okay, we're going to try Indiana.
All right.
Are you there? Can you hear me now? Hello?
Hello.
I think you can hear.
Hello there. 254 area code, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and we guessed Indiana. Are we close?
No, sir. It's Texas.
Texas again. We get a lot of Texas.
Yeah.
How come there's so many area codes in Texas?
Yeah, I've really been
You're only supposed
enjoying
to have one.
this area code guessing thing. This been cracking me up. Yeah. Well,
thanks for taking my call. I just got a couple quick questions for you. One is I've got 726 ELs. They're 24.5 low pros.
Yep.
They came on the truck when I bought them. They were about 3/4 worn down when I, maybe more than that. They're basically about half life right now, and I'm wondering, am I going to gain anything by buying a new tire that is low rolling resistance at this point, or should I run these out and then replace them?
Okay, I'm going to qualify this question by telling you that I really don't give a damn about rolling resistance or fuel economy. I'm a tire alignment guy. The second thing is, I never throw away money. If those tires got miles in them, I would drive them. You talk to Kevin Rutherford, who is absolutely real serious about fuel economy. He may figure out what those tires are worth and what you would save in fuel and tell you should change them. But that's not my business. I don't do that stuff.
Right.
Okay.
We love getting the most tire mileage we can out of it.
Yeah, I want to see a tire run 500,000 miles. Then I don't care whether it's giving me fuel economy. I want it to last 500,000 miles.
Well, these tires do it. I mean, I think these guys have put. I think the last time they put a set of tires on this truck before these was about 4 years ago in a team truck. They were running the hell out of them.
We're like iron.
And what's that?
Okay, buddy. Well, you have yourself a good day, and we'll chat at you later then.
All right. Thanks. Take care.
That was Texas again.
Yeah. Now this one's 951. Didn't we just talk?
Yeah, that was Jamaica.
All right. I don't know if this is going to be the same or different.
951. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. And it's
are you in Jamaica?
No, it's not Jamaica, man. It's Southern California, man.
Southern California, man. Okay. What can we do for you?
I had a question. I'm running 22.5 low pros. I'm running the Michelin XZA 3 Plus Evertread all around on my tractor.
Okay.
And on my steers, my wear on all my tires is really good. But every now and then, I'll get a little wobble in my steering wheel when I'm driving down the road. And I'm not getting any funny wear. My truck drives straight and everything's fine. But every now and then, the steering wheel will start to wobble a little bit.
Okay. Couple of questions.
What would that be? Huh?
Well, there's a couple of things it could be. So first question is, what brand of truck is this?
It's a Peterbilt 387. It's a 2009.
First, the first thing I would check on a Peterbilt, there's a certain series of Peterbilts that were built. Put the hood up and you look at the steering gearbox. Both the input and output hoses are on the bottom side of the box. That means that as the fluid circulates through, if there's any air in it, it captures itself in the steering gearbox. And air in the steering gearbox, when you hit a slight bump, can cause your steering wheel to chatter.
Okay.
The first thing I would want to do the box, if one of the hoses on the bottom side of the box and one of the hoses on the top side where you can see air could obviously trail out of there, then that's not the problem. But if they're both on the bottom side, you could have air trapped in there. The second thing is, when it does this wobble thing, do you notice that you hit a little bump and then you get the wobble, or does it just start to wobble?
I think it's probably when I hit something rough in the road where the road's not smooth.
That's good, because that means that something in the system is not holding it as solid as it should be. And again, I'm back to hydraulics, and air in the hydraulics could be a first concern. The second concern is how many miles are on this truck?
880,000.
As the front pin bushings start wearing out on a truck and you hit a bump, the pin bushing can oscillate front to back if it's got a little bit of movement, and it'll give you a wobble in your steering wheel until it settles down again. I've had some trucks that we had to replace both front leaf springs to stiffen them back up so it could handle the bumps without going into an oscillation. So that's the second possibility, either pin bushings or the springs themselves.
Okay. Pin bushings or springs. All right. Would the shocks have anything to do with it if the shocks are worn, or no?
Well, it could a little bit because the shock is supposed to dampen up and down movement. And if the shock is really not controlling that bounce, it could be contributing a little bit to it too. So you might want to look at the shocks also.
Okay.
So in order of cost, literally look at the steering gearbox, and if both hoses are top and bottom, that didn't cost you anything to note that. As far as the shocks, they're a lot cheaper than replacing springs, so that would be, I suppose, step number 2.
Particularly if they've got more than 200,000 or 300,000 miles on the shocks.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And one quick question, because I know you guys are short on time. Your opinion on the OEM shocks, or is it worth it to spend the money and get the Road King shocks?
Personally, I like a nice gas pressurized shock. Whether it's a Monroe or a Gabriel, I really don't care, but I like a good gas pressurized shock.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Can I put the shocks on myself? Do I have to lift the truck to put shocks on, or is that something I can do by myself?
Well, here's the way I test shocks. I'm a shade tree mechanic. Got it? You're driving down the road. You pull into a stop. You open the hood up, and you see fluid running down the shocks. You better replace them.
Right.
Okay?
Okay. Right.
You're driving down the road, you flip the hood up, and the rubber bushings that are supposed to hold the shocks in place are gone. I'm going to replace them.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
I flip the hood up. I don't see any of those things, but I reach in and put my hand on the bottom part of the shock. If it's not warm, then it's not running fluid around in it, and it's dead, and I'm going to put new shocks on it.
Okay.
So I'm looking for temperature, I'm looking for all the parts in place, and I'm looking for no liquid leaking down it.
Okay.
That's it. All right.
Got it.
Very good.
All right. I appreciate it.
You have a great day.
All right, you too. Thanks.
One last one, even though we're past a full hour.
We're going to go ahead and talk to this guy anyway.
218. I think that's going to be Indiana again.
Indiana, 218, right?
Northern third of Minnesota.
I was close.
We haven't hit one yet right tonight. So what do we got for you?
Is there a certain, if I go over and put my left side of my truck on the yellow line and let go of the steering wheel, is there a certain distance or a certain count to get to the white line on the other side, or is there no such measurement on that? See if you're pulling
if I'm driving in the slow lane on an interstate and I let go of the steering wheel and I'm doing 60 miles an hour, I should be able to count of 1, 2, and about 3, my right front tire should hit the shoulder of the road. If I put it in the left lane, I should get about the same count, 1, 2, maybe 3, and it should start hitting the left shoulder. That's a neutral truck.
That's kind of what I was wondering. Thank you guys very much. I can hear Kevin a lot clearer today. So.
Well, thank you. You have yourself a great and a happy Easter to you.
Yeah, we worked on this audio thing trying to get it clear, and I think we finally figured it out.
Well, we appreciate you listening. You guys have a great day.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks a lot. Okay.
Well, we've done another. We've been how long into the show?
An hour and 4.
An hour and 4 minutes. That's not too bad. Well, they won't charge us too much for the extra 4 minutes. We thank you all for listening. It's been a great time. We're going to do this again next week. And next week, the conversation is going to be on drive axle alignment. So we'll discuss what we do with the drives to try and make you drive straight. And in the meantime, do drive straight, drive safe, and we'll talk to you next weekend.
Thanks
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on Rolling Toe. If you like what you heard here, leave us a rating and review on iTunes or listen to our other shows at audioroad.letstruck.com. To get in touch with our tribe, call us at 855-800-FUEL. That's 855-800-3835. Thanks for joining us for the ride down the audio road.